famed author Clive Cussler.
The hero, Dirk Pitt.
The Mediterranean Caper. Episode 4. Don't bring a donkey to an airplane fight.
If you adopt a dog from the shelter, it has to be neutered before they give it to you.
Yeah.
He was really happy to see me when I got home the other day. He's not completely neutered. They missed one.
How is it not completely neutered? And what did they miss?
I guess it's in his leg. Maybe he had 3. I haven't. It's just been verified.
So you've got some kind of super dog that is just destined to breed.
Oh, I don't. He is so bizarre. He only goes left. For hours. He's not food motivated. I have to fetch him to exhaustion for him to eat. And I guess he was hiding a 3rd testicle. Yes, he's Wonder Dog. I've been talking this whole time. Tell me something.
I don't know. No.
My uncle. I told you about my uncle died when we did our first podcast, which was probably a mistake, and I probably never want to hear that one. He was a big storyteller and a big talker and very charismatic, and he would always say, like, fish stories. Like, he caught a fish and it was this big. True story. So on his headstone, they're going to say, true story. I really love that. The artwork is amazing. I thought it was the humans were depicting Dirk and Lady of the Month, or like Lady of the Book. Mm-hmm. If that's supposed to be us, that silhouette is really aspirational.
I figured it's either Dirk and Lady of the Month, or it's us, and it's just that's the hilarious people we're playing on this.
Fine.
I also don't look like that, and don't own a hat that fabulous.
I don't have an overcoat. And I love the way legs look. Every artwork for AI, the legs are always weird. I love it.
And there are some things the AI will do every time, and some things the AI absolutely will not do, no matter how many times you try and force it.
What were you trying to force?
One of my writing servers has a Mid-Journey section for people to do renderings of their characters for their books and stories and whatnot, and for people to ask questions, work out character details and all that. And one of my stories, the main character is like a really big lady, like basically like a beefy, thick kind of power lifter type. And at best, I can get her up to a size 4 with AI. So I'm like inputting morbidly obese cartoon characters. I'm saying, okay, take this, but have her working in smithy, like a medieval smithy, and working with robots. And it goes, okay, and it turns that character into a little skinny person. I'm like, no, you missed again.
See if you could do it racist. Like do stout Russian woman.
Oh, maybe.
Well, the pictures you showed me I thought were really awesome. Oh, and my daughter called these books Twilight for Men.
Not entirely wrong.
I thought that was great.
I mean, that's what all these pulp novels were, because it was just like a man who was both super intelligent and also really good at punching goes off and has adventures and rescues women and usually shoots people who don't speak English.
Yeah, they're NPCs, right?
Yeah, because they're all savages. Now, the Dirk Pitt ones, so far, like all the ones I remember, have very few savages. And usually if it's like less developed people from other countries, they're treated with a lot of respect because the villain is always like a billionaire.
Yes. Oh, I have thoughts on that.
Natives somewhere are usually Dirk's best friends. They're like, oh, we'll get along. They respect me. I respect them.
Yes, he's got an in.
I'm sure we'll find some extremely well-meaning racists as we get into
Well, and I'm sure we'll commit it ourselves unknowingly.
Probably.
We'll try. We'll try to be better every time.
Yeah.
Hi, this is the Cussler Hustlers with Topper and Nancy.
It's organic. I'll find a way to like fade in some theme music with us babbling about, dogs and funerals, and then right into the book.
It's going to always be dogs and funerals. One time I went to a dog funeral. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. The priest was the same priest who did my mother's funeral. He was drunk at my mother's funeral, not at the dog funeral. What the fuck?
I was going to say, I've been to a dog funeral, but not the kind with the priest, like just us gathered around being sad about the dog that passed away. But this sounds like it was a bit of a to-do.
It was when we first got married. I got a little Yorkie, and being a childless couple, I put the dog in doggy daycare. And this couple who ran the doggy daycare had years later, they had a television show about themselves, like a reality show. So I'll send you that link. But this guy, huge, like really scary looking, muscle bound, albino with a lot of tattoos and bald, but loved small dogs. He was always carrying small dogs. You'll see his picture. And I go one day to pick him up, and he tells me, oh, something very bad is happening. He's holding my dog. He's holding Lenny Briscoe. And so I could see my dog. He's like, I'm so sorry to say, Lenny's best friend Taco died. The funeral is going to be this Saturday. I'm like, I have to go. I mean, there's going to be a story here. So I brought pastries. I put on like a black dress, and I go. They have a little casket. People say things, and there's other dogs peeing on everything while, a priest is giving a eulogy. And they were pallbearers, like the people, there were men in suits who took out, Taco was a chihuahua in this tiny, elaborate casket that they took out of a station wagon. Like 4 people. It was a craftsmanship. I don't know how much it costs. I didn't bring enough pastries.
Wow.
It was a very Brooklyn, bizarre, it was a highlight of my life for sure, because I could tell this story forever and no one will believe me. It was before camera phones. My only saving grace is these people have a reality show.
I'll believe you just because every weird story I hear about America, I'll go, yeah, that probably happened somewhere.
Yeah, it's probably been like 47 school shootings since the last time we spoke.
Yeah, who can keep track of them all?
So we opened up this time. Dirk has made it.
Oh, right.
Through the.
I guess we should recap a tiny bit. So the recap on the last episode, Dirk spent some time on the first attempt where he seemed to really hate his job and all of his coworkers. He spent some time on Brady Airfield where he seemed to hate his job and most of his coworkers. And then he got picked up by the Nazi limousine driver to go meet his date and the absolutely not a Nazi uncle. And they don't waste any time. Like, the book tells you, here's the villain of the book. He is the bad guy. He is the one who is going to try and kill people, and he is the one who they're going to have to catch at the end. And they have a very difficult dinner, and then he tells Dirk to go into his dungeon, and Dirk does it, and then he locks the door behind him. It's
a very comforting kind of formula. It's like a weighted blanket. You know what's going to happen. We do it anyway. It's why Friends was such a big show.
Dirk knows what has to happen in the next chapter, so he'll get there without too much fuss. So he wanders around the dungeon, he kills a dog, and then he squeezes his junk through rusty iron bars, and now he's free again.
Oh yeah, they did make a big deal of how could that part get through.
Yeah. I'll have to edit that down to make it sound interesting, because I feel like I lost the plot in the last episode.
No, you're on top of things. You are professional.
Fun fact for our listeners: our last episode was almost a month ago because we cannot schedule anything.
No, we can't.
And I keep leaving town.
I left town too. We took the family to Boston. Now my daughter saw the fancy universities there. So, listeners, send your money. Dirk gets through his labyrinth after killing the dog. He makes his way. He steals a donkey.
Yes, there's far too much time spent getting him with him working out how to start the donkey.
I was unclear. Is he still naked riding the donkey, or did he get clothed?
I don't know if he put his clothes back on, because he took his clothes off. He smeared himself with blood in order to get through. I like to assume that he's still just wearing his underwear, covered in blood, riding a donkey.
Okay, that makes more sense.
This is the best story ever. I take everything back. This rule.
Okay, this is great. Also, he's like, it's a donkey. He calls a donkey a mule. 2 different things, asshole. Donkeys and mules, very different. For our listeners, a mule is a male donkey. and a female. It's the product of a male donkey and a female horse. A donkey is called an ass, and a lady donkey is called a jenny. A male donkey is a jack, so jackass for a male donkey. And a male horse and a female donkey creates a hiney, which is so funny.
Well, that's the best thing ever. All those missed opportunities for this book to get suddenly more educational.
So the donkey is named Athena, the goddess of war. He determines after just throwing out Greek terms. He uses really aspirational, Apollo, Athena,
Aphrodite.
Not feta, not,
I'm in Greece.
not spanakopita, not baklava.
They name everything after the gods, I assume, because that's the only culture I know. To be fair, there's a good chance Clive Cussler thought this is the only Greek culture my readers will know, so I'm going to stick to the easy stuff.
That is very generous. You are so kind.
Well,
that is a very... But he ties the donkey up and gives the donkey a cash tip.
yes.
Unclear if the donkey had a wallet.
No, because he stole the donkey from a fence and rides it all the way to the beach.
And the best line in any book ever written is here. He's thinking about how to get to... He's running out of time. The clock is ticking.
Oh, yes. I suppose we should say that he has to get to the first attempt because...
He's got 41 minutes left.
Because the evil, absolutely not a Nazi, Bruno von Till, has all but told him that he's going to hop in the Albatross, his World War I fighter craft, and destroy the first attempt, destroy the science boat.
Yes,
At dawn, just like his ancestor did. They basically set out all the history, basically reading a textbook while they were at dinner for World War I flying ace history. So Dirk knows that he has until dawn to get to the boat and warn them.
Yes, I think in The Incredibles they call that monologuing.
There's a lot of monologuing in
Historic film, The Incredibles. And I just love that he tipped the donkey. That is fantastic.
Well, in that case, he must have had his clothes back on, unless he just put his wallet in his pants and then rode down the hill.
I was buying underwear for the men in my family, my husband and son, not like father-in-laws or anything like that weird, but they have pockets now. Not those pockets, like cell phone pockets.
Huh.
I was like, people still wear pants.
Odd, but makes sense, I guess. I mean, if you're just wandering around the house in your underwear, but you still want to have your phone convenient.
They were the action shots.
At that point, can't you just wear shorts?
Yes. And yes, absolutely. It's like the pencils versus space pens.
We made them use pencil.
And then Dirk sees his ship from afar, and the line, the best line, that he's trying to get to his ship. He has to steal a boat, and he says, "If I can kidnap a donkey, I can pirate a boat. Forget the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune." That is good writing. I love that.
That may very well have to be on merch that we produce. The one thing I remember from this section is just how long, pages and pages, because he really had to stretch for time here, how long it describes him trying to start the boat and pushing himself beyond his limits to work the crank handle on the old-ass diesel. And he keeps falling asleep while he's steering around the island, but he has to stay awake and keep the first attempt in his sights. And it sounds like he's flying to the moon and holding the spaceship together with his bare hands, how viscerally, horribly they describe this idyllic boat journey, because they really have to remind you that Dirk is almost dead still.
Yes, time is ticking. Time is ticking. And then he half an hour has passed, and he finally reaches his destination, and he's pulled up after barking orders. Blah blah blah. I'm Dirk. And they're like, "Oh, is it really you?" Because he's filthy and bloody and again unrecognizable. These guys never take attendance. Nobody knows where Dirk is at any point. They're never concerned about that.
No, I mean Dirk's off.
I guess he went on a date. They figure, he's meeting women on the beach randomly, and that takes hours and hours and hours.
He's off doing his thing. He gets paid the big bucks. He wanders in and out and yells at people.
But the men love him.
Oh, God, yes.
But when he falls on the boat, a man with a yellow beard called Mr. Knight or Colonel Knight. I didn't do the rank, but this character, he refers to him as Yellow Knight because of his beard, and that means a company that's going to take over through a hostile takeover and then pulls back and joins forces and then finds a new target with the company they were going to take over, and then they target a new company.
I will take your word for that. Oh, yeah. If I search for Yellow Knight, the second people also ask is, why do companies merge?
So he gets on the boat. He gets medical attention. He tells the doctor to buzz off. The doctor keeps trying to treat him. And I think that's when Al comes in. And they do Al dirty every time he comes into frame. He looks like an ape. He's swarthy. He's hairy. Like he just came from the gabagool fields mining the mozzarella.
Yeah, later on, they'll definitely do him dirty again, and it's in the style that all these movies do, with the one person who looks obviously bigger and more muscular and tough, is to very specifically have that person get their ass kicked to prove how tough somebody else is.
That is math only men can do. I don't.
Well, on the internet,
You say that. I've seen that.
I mean, on the internet, it's known as the Worf effect, because you have Commander Worf from Star Trek, right? I assume you've seen Next Generation, or at least know about it. Okay, good. Yeah, so you have Worf, the big, tough, super strong Klingon on the bridge, and he is in almost every episode to like attack the alien and get thrown 20 feet, just so you go, oh wow, he's tougher than Worf, and that's most of what Worf is there for.
I watched it for Riker and.
Oh, everyone watched it for Riker.
Not this time. It never happened.
Who's that? Oh, and the girl with the curly hair. Loved her. I wanted to be her.
Deanna Troi. Yeah, definitely most of the memes that are still around for Star Trek are Riker and Troi. Like, I'll still see those daily.
Oh, but he gets on the boat and he's telling everybody while shooing medical attention, stuff is about to get bananas. Meanwhile, there was, the day before a military strike happened. It was the day before, the day before. The day before.
It was 2 days before, because it was on the dawn of the next day that he meets the lady on the beach, and it was that night that they. Yeah, okay, so it is 2 days later now, so it is like less than 48 hours later.
And there's still no increased military response.
No, the airbase is probably still on fire.
And I know the U.S. is known for really subtle and understated military actions, but we have destabilized nations for like tropical fruit.
Yeah.
The U.S. took over an island for pineapples because a guy named Dole was like, yeah, I really want this place. We've had wars over actual bananas. We would have been there.
I think so. I think they're painting America as slightly...
Really laid back. Really laid back.
Oh, yeah. Super chill in the military in the 1970s.
I think my country's excitable or touchy. I think it would have gone over a little differently.
But yeah, I mean, he says, you're about to be attacked at dawn by a World War I, not even a fighter jet, a World War I biplane. And they're like, oh, that Dirk, he's so crazy. But he has a cunning plan, because Bruno Von Till laid out the complete history of the Hawk of Macedonia, this pilot, at mealtime the night before, just so Dirk knows. Like, he basically laid out, here's where my weaknesses are, and here's the one thing that makes me angry. Do with this information as you will.
Yes, and then they see the plane in the distance, and they gather forces, gird their loins. They think they shoot the plane down.
No, they don't shoot it down. Remember, because Bruno Von Till was mad that the Hawk of Macedonia was brought down by English treachery, because what happened to the Hawk of Macedonia in World War I and what happens on the first attempt now is Dirk loads up a weather balloon with explosives, and they launch the weather balloon.
I forget that.
Because this is a science vessel, so nobody would think anything odd about a science vessel having a weather balloon launched above it to, check for weather conditions. So they watch the World War I biplane come in and decide to take a few strafes at the weather balloon. Just like Bruno Von Till explained the night before The weather balloon that killed the Hawk of Macedonia was loaded with explosives, but there's no chance that'll happen twice. Except Dirk loaded it full of seismic charges, and they blow up the balloon, and the airplane is badly rocked, flies away super slowly, trailing smoke.
Because they send gun after them.
Yeah, like
they send gun diving.
They see it fly away. They think that they see it go down because it's heading for the island. And
yes.
That's when Dirk decides, okay, I've done my job for the day, and he passes out.
Was that before or after he was pounding beers? So he wakes up and he starts pounding beers.
Yeah, he wakes up and starts pounding beers. Because now we're in Chapter 9, and Chapter 9 starts with like a 3-page recap of the previous 8 chapters. Like they just run over everything that's happened with Al and Lewis from the Air Force Base. While pounding beers.
I had to pick up my friend's son. He was dehydrated and he passed out and he hit his head. I picked him up this afternoon. That is actually true. I did not feed him a 6-pack of beers upon picking him up. Maybe I should have, but his mother's a nurse and she said just bring him home.
Probably for the best, unless they're medicinal beers.
He's 15. Another year he'll be claiming medicinal beers.
Yeah, all of Chapter 9 I have summed up in like 4 sentences, which is crazy because Chapter 10, it takes up like an entire page. So this is definitely a bit of a filler chapter.
Yeah, I did like the line that Commander Gunn was wearing a bikini and his horn-rimmed glasses.
Yes.
And he's skinny.
I did have that written down.
And I was like, you know what? That's my guy. I like him.
Gunn pops in only wearing a bikini.
And his horn-rimmed glasses.
Yeah.
He's skinny and nerdy, and I'm like, that's my guy.
There's not enough nerds in these. Like, he's basically, if this were James Bond, he would be Q, because he's the guy who pops up with gadgets and technology in all these books.
And the line gleamed with satin sheen when he was talking about the ocean. Gleamed satin sheen. He's very
nerdy. He loves
descriptive.
He loves
He's very he's very descriptive. And now Dirk and Al go sightseeing.
The only interesting thing that happens in Chapter 9, because they're talking with Colonel Lewis because they have to kill time until the big reveal at the end of the chapter, and that is that nobody can find where the airplane went down. There's no wreckage on land. There's no wreckage on sea. It's just gone.
Oh, yes, they're bereft.
And that's why Dirk knows his job isn't over, God damn it.
So he's bruised, he's battered, but him and Al, the human orangutan, are going to blend in as American tourists. And I'm not saying that the description of Al just gets worse and worse every time he enters a scene. He's going to have a hunchback by the end of the book.
And now we're in Chapter 10, which is possibly my favorite chapter in the entire book. I have so many sentences copied down verbatim. Some of these would make like amazing tattoos. Some of these, if you put them in a movie nowadays, would probably get you kicked out of the pitch meeting. It's amazing.
When they get to the girl. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, there's the girl at the start and the girl at the end of the chapter, because there are multiple girls in this chapter. He was in a mood when he wrote this chapter.
Let's hope he wrote this by candlelight. Light your chandeliers, people.
After several beers.
Greek beers, which I have had Chinese beers, Australian beers, never a Greek beer. You?
Yeah, I'm not sure I've had Greek beer. It seems it might be a bit of a difficult import around here.
I went on a bus trip when I worked for a government agency that seized illegal alcohol. So somebody in a position of power just took some of the evidence and brought it on the bus trip. And it was illegal for a reason. People had headaches. But I was too young to drink. But the bus driver had the beers too. It was a catastrophe.
Oh boy.
Oh, if it happened now, people would probably be in jail. But it was the Wild West back then.
Good times. People weren't so easily triggered by drunk driving.
Or stealing evidence from a federal holding facility.
Nah, that's fine.
Now.
Right, Chapter 10.
Yes, Chapter 10.
We keep starting Chapter 10 and going, oh, fuck.
Chapter 10. There is, I don't remember the girl at the beginning. That one escapes me. I didn't make a note of her. I remember Al and...
Chapter 10 starts off with the Greek tour guide showing a group on the ruins of Thassos on the island, on the other side of the island from the military base. And he's describing all the ruins for the tourists, and really focuses on the American lady with the large protruding breasts that he would invite on a private tour after hours. And then he spends
I do have a note
and then he
about
spends 4 paragraphs describing these 2 disreputable, battered brutes and ruffians. And then the point of view switches to Pitt and Al, and you realize that he's describing these 2
Yes,
in the least flattering possible terms.
the tour guide, there's 3 girls, 2 uggos.
Yes.
One, he's like clearly an American girl because she's properly cantilevered and has long legs like most American girls. Where did that come from?
I guess if you're Greek, you're not used to long legs. Do they have stubby little legs over there? Does Clive Cussler think they have stubby little legs over there?
Does Clive Cussler think there's no short women in the U.S.?
It's a fantasy book. I'm sure in his America, this is what they all look like.
This is this is what they mean when they say "Make America Great Again."
Make America a Dirk Pitt novel again. So yeah, they're on this tour, and they eventually end up at the bars that Dirk squeezed out of the night before. So this actually is like a fairly good bit of, I guess, scene setting, bringing it full circle. Like, rather than sneaking back in, they hitch a ride in the tour group.
Yes, blending in perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Abbott and Costello after a bar brawl. Oh, Abbott and Costello. Look it up, little people.
Everybody listening to this, Google these.
You're too young. They were funny. They were better than the Three Stooges. So they go back through the labyrinth. They see the blood of the white dog.
They go back through the labyrinth, but first they have to use explosives and duct tape to get rid of one of the bars because there's no way Al could fit through the bars.
Yes, but he did very, directionally. So
I'm not sure Clive Cussler knows how bear bangers work, because what he's done is he's made a bear banger, which is where you have a small explosive. You could hold a small explosive in your hand with your hand open, and it would go off, and it would be loud, and your fingers would be okay. Every year, 4th of July, I'm always hearing about people who do that with explosives, but they close their fingers and it blows their hand off.
yeah, I've seen it happen.
And bear bangers is when you wrap those things in duct tape and you get the unbelievably loud concussive blast because the explosion, has to rip free from the packaging you've made for it. In the book, they wrap all this explosive in duct tape so it makes no noise. When what would happen is you would wrap all this explosive in duct tape and they would hear it in France.
That's very good specialized knowledge. Well done.
I have watched my friends blow trees in half. This exact method. It's not quiet.
There's chainsaws.
No, not for work. This was in bush parties and they were drinking and had explosives and duct tape.
Oh.
So for fun, this was recreational blowing trees in half.
Oh, okay. Okay, we had just illegal fireworks, and people would hold the M80s with the fist closed and do the I'm not going to let go until the last minute thing.
Ah, super.
I saw one kid blow a pinky off.
I don't think any of us did that. I think all of us still have all of our fingers from that.
It's why I didn't marry anyone from my hometown.
Gotcha.
And the tour guide turns out to be, let's put that on the back burner. They go through the labyrinth and they find the fair maiden at the end of the labyrinth, asleep in her diaphanous red gown, which they used to completely disrespect her with. Holy shit.
Yeah, there's an entire page spent describing her, specifically with Dirk staring at her while she sleeps. Just standing over her, describing her in excruciating detail.
That didn't strike you as romantic?
No, not so much.
We're going to paraphrase that for your,
and
your loved ones.
And also, one of my favorite lines where Dirk was frozen into sudden immobility.
Do you think that was too wordy? Because I think we could have had more.
Opposed to frozen into motion, or I had a counter going for the phrase almost but not quite, and we're up to 3 in this chapter. And there's just a lot of things leaping out at me. Like, a lot of the action and a lot of the description is perfectly fine, but I think he must have like written chunks on separate days and didn't know how to stitch the 2 pieces of text together. There's very weird language.
Oh, sure. But they use her diaphanous ephemeral negligee, which she just lounges about in. I know for a fact.
In her uncle's house, knowing full well that there's a peeping Tom Nazi limo driver who also lives there.
And her uncle.
And the uncle, yes. Is this not what you wear? Is this not what you wear at your uncle's house?
I guess not my uncle's, but I guess a lot of families have creepy uncles. It's a trope for a reason.
And I guess she's okay with that.
But right until they use it to tie her up like a potato sack, so she's completely exposed.
Yeah, so they kidnapped her.
Bare-assed.
I'm not entirely sure why they're kidnapping Terry. He could have woken her up. He could have asked her a question.
And it's made clear she's wearing nothing underneath.
Yes.
She doesn't know Al. Some women consider having their clothes forcibly removed to be a great offense, bare minimum. Mm-hmm. So, and they're just like, sun's out, cunts out. Guess we're tying her up around the head and shoulders with this.
And this just makes me think, what was their plan for breaking back into Von Till's villa? Because I assumed it was to talk to Von Till or to gather some sort of evidence of the Hawk of Macedonia. But they go room to room. They don't find anything. They find a sleeping, almost naked woman and abduct her.
Oh, no, they play with the toy submarine.
And the toy submarine, yes. Which plants the seeds for the final Sherlock Holmes level confrontation in Dirk's mind.
Okay, so this is Chekhov's submarine.
Yes. And now we come to another one of my favorite sentences ever. Rapidly and with no expectation of stealthy caution. So I'm going to use...
They made a racket going out of that.
I'm going to use every word.
We're stomping like elephants out of this joint.
Yes. With our naked
woman wrapped in a potato sack about the head and shoulders.
With our naked foreign national, which I believe in the capacity of military officers abducting a British woman in Greece is, well, I mean, we've already established America is very casual at this point in time, so I'm sure nothing bad will happen.
Great Britain has always reacted wonderfully to international incidents.
Yeah.
I mean, none of us remember Margaret Thatcher in Argentina, right? Some guys rip a sign off and
everybody shook hands and thought about what they did wrong.
It was, close your eyes, think of England.
Oh, God.
Which is what this lady must have done, because they meet up with the tour guide who slaps her ass.
Yes.
Their cover story is she's a filthy tramp, a whore who tried to stiff them but didn't perform her stated duty.
Yeah.
And she gets smacked on the bare ass. Tell us what happens to the tour guide with the gleaming teeth.
I was going to ask you that, if only because my notes for chapter 11 seem to end at ... and I'm not sure what happened to the rest of my file. But I know that...
my notes end too. She gets untied. They get rid of the tour guide. He slithers off. They set her on her feet, and she's not angry.
Well, no, they don't get rid of the tour guide. The tour guide draws a gun and reveals, after she reveals that she's not angry, draws a gun and reveals that he's like an undercover Greek gendarme police officer.
Oh, I didn't write that down. Yes, and she just dismisses him with the begone kind of servant superiority.
Yeah, because he hasn't shown that he has a gun yet. Like, she's playing along to make him go away, and it doesn't work.
She throws her arms around Dirk. She's trying to get rid of tour guide, and I've got nothing after that because I went to a different notebook that I don't have right now. So I guess this is where we end.
I was going to say, this might be where the episode ends, and I may have to reread the end of that chat. It got very confusing.
No, we're old, and we forgot.
Reading the synopsis, they return to the villa of Bruno Von Till, and is captured escaping the villa with Terry Von Till as his prisoner, but they're captured by agents of Interpol, and it's revealed that the agents of Interpol are watching Bruno Von Till. One of those agents of Interpol undercover in the ruins is this tour guide. It's after this point that there's a lot of exposition, and I might need to reread this chapter and really get the exposition in order, because there's a buttload of stuff gets dropped just halfway through this book. We meet 5 more characters and reveal 3 new plots.
Okay, so do you want to pause here and we'll pick up tomorrow?
That'll be next episode, yeah.
To be continued.
To be continued. I mean, all of our episodes are to be continued, let's be honest.
That's the wonderful part of this. Thank you. I'm so sorry about last night.
Oh, that's fine.
And the delay. Small town nonsense, but I love it. That's what I'm over here for.
This has been Cussler Hustlers. Your hosts have been Topper and Nancy. Find us on Twitter and Instagram at Cussler Hustlers.